The four grumphers had been sitting at their table for nearly an hour, making the kind of rude noise their species like to make, tossing back liters of the rum-based liquor their species like to drink, and emitting increasingly acidic aromas as the ethanol in their blood sifted into their lungs and breath. So far, they'd mostly behaved themselves, which for grumphers meant leaving the glassware and condiment bottles unbroken. But I knew it was only a matter of time before something went diagonal. My best chance was that my shift would be over, and I would be long gone before that happened, or that the two Yavani playing bouncer at the door would handle the situation. As my father used to say, chance is a funny thing. A fat one and a slim one are the same thing. Unfortunately, the way luck was breaking for me these days, my chances here were likely going to run to one or the other. It started almost exactly an hour after they first lumbered in, as if they'd set their watches for the occasion. One of them made the same kind of obnoxious-sounding comment all four had been tossing around the table, but this time someone apparently took offense. 2 seconds and an angry roar later, with a multiple clatter of kicked-back chairs, all four of the big aliens were on their feet. 2 of them glaring across the table at each other, their fists bunched, while the other 2 looked on like they'd been roped in as observers or seconds to the challenge. I looked at the door. The Yavani were watching the standoff closely, but neither was making any move to intervene. At the bar, Joe Smith, the bartender, was trying hard to pretend he wasn't there. Zaylee had disappeared, either done with her shift or else gone to ground in the back room. That left only one person standing between the grumphers and a brawl that could completely wreck the tavern, the waiter who'd spent the last hour serving them. Me. It wasn't my bar. It wasn't my furniture. Ergo, it wasn't my problem. I was glancing around the room, picking a good spot to ride out the coming storm, when one of the standby grumphers pulled an orange-edged card from the aggressor's shirt pocket, waved it in front of the offended party's eyes, and then slapped it down on the table in front of him. Carefully, trying to be as invisible as Joe Smith and the sorry excuses for bouncers, I took a couple of steps forward and craned my neck to look. It was, as I'd already guessed from the orange border, a med warning card. The particular disease label was typical opaque medicalese, but one of the profile icons was all too familiar. A warning against over-serving him with alcohol. A second later, the aggressor snatched the card back from the table and shoved it back into his pocket. But I'd seen enough. Never mind that the law said he was supposed to present that card before he so much as ordered. Never mind that his buddies knew perfectly well what would happen if he drank too much. The crucial point was that I'd served the drinks, and barring a long, leisurely tour through the Commonwealth's legal system, I was the one everyone would blame. And with that, unfortunately, it was my problem. "Gentle beings, please," I said, hurrying forward. I had a standing plan for handling drunks, which usually worked out pretty well, and right now it was the only card I had. Unfortunately, I'd never used it on even a healthy grumpher, let alone one with a medical condition, and I had no idea whether or not there would be any unpleasant side effects.